All right, cool. We should be live right now. What's happening, YouTube? Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm excited. We're going to do a little behind the scenes recording for Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. What are you waiting for? Do that right now. We got awesome episodes coming. Should be live right now. What's happening, YouTube? Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm excited. We're going to do a little behind the scenes recording for Ready, Set. All right.
See, it's behind the scenes. This is the kind of
behind the scenes, baby. Yeah.
No.
So hopefully we can cut that shit out. But all right, let's just get into it. Ryan, what's happening, man? How we doing today?
I'm busy as hell and happy and can't complain, I guess. I probably could, but it wouldn't do any good.
Yeah. What's that gonna do for us?
Yeah.
I love it, man. I met you actually a couple years ago at one of Kent Clothier's events in San Diego, and your message always really resonated with me. Yeah, I mean, we all come from some kind of diversity, right? Seeing some of your accomplishments today, I was just reading, like I knew that you flipped cars, I knew that you flip watches, you got multiple businesses, you do funding, real estate, coaching, masterminds, you got software, author, speaker, all the accomplishments, right? I didn't know to the certain degree that you were doing some of these things. I didn't realize at one point you had 63 businesses, you got 60 plus streams of different income right now. You got 5 million in Rolexes and watches and so forth, and 4 million in cars. Just some wild stuff that if you would have looked back at your life many moons ago, I'm sure that you've never thought that, some of these things would actually come to fruition, but obviously hard work and the right discipline behind things, it really manifests its own way. But I just want to hear from you. And for any of the listeners that don't know more about your story, do you mind just giving that 30,000 foot view for me and the listeners?
Yeah. So I have fucked up more than probably anybody. And I mean, it all started when I was 7. My stepdad adopted me because my dad disappeared, and I changed my name. And ultimately, because that kind of changed my identity, at 13 or 14 years old, started, smoking weed, selling weed, got into selling cocaine and meth and X and whatever, everything but heroin, basically, and crack. I never sold crack or heroin. Got arrested at 19, went to about 7 different prisons in a 2-year time frame, maximum security prisons, got out, got my life together, became a millionaire, went back to fucking prison again for some just snafu in the system, and this time went to federal prison. So I've been to 8 different prisons in my lifetime, and got out of federal prison in 2008 and got back into finance. Again, Dodd-Frank happened in 2010. I was a felon, got kicked out of the fucking financial industry, and I am a living example of those who can't coach. I couldn't do my job anymore, so but I was really good at it, so I started teaching people how to do what I did. And that's what, when I started this shit in 2010, there were no Gary Vaynerchuks on the internet. There were no Grant Cardones on the internet. These guys all relied on face-to-face selling and DVDs and email lists and stuff like that. So I am, one of the key people, if not patient zero, for responsible for building a business on social media. I didn't have any mentors to look up to that had done it. I didn't have anybody teaching me that stuff. I kind of figured it out. And a lot of what you see today online has come from the ripple effect from me doing that. I just saw something. Even as early as 2008, I just saw something changing in the way that social media could be utilized. And I've been, using social media to build businesses for 16 years now. And, I've had my ups and downs in business. And like you said, at one point I owned 4 million in cars and, was selling about $5 million a year in watches. Actually, it was about $3.5 million a year in watches. And, a couple of things for those of you that are young out there thinking about this kind of stuff. At one point I thought having a bunch of cars would be cool until you got to go get them all registered, inspected, oil changes and shit like that. Just really became a pain in the ass. I've had 19 McLarens and Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces and Porsches. Now I've got one McLaren, which I'm probably going to sell pretty soon. I've had it for 3 years, and I've got one Porsche, and I drive a truck, an F-250 most days. Um, yeah, I still got five vehicles altogether, but I probably need to sell off the McLaren because I have four kids now. I don't drive it hardly ever. The about 2 years ago, man, you can make money from anything in all reality. And right now, you can't flip cars like you used to. You can't flip houses like you used to. You can't, flip watches that people don't have the extra money for them like they did just 2 years ago. So the climate's changed a lot. But I looked up and man, and I had all these different ventures and businesses, and they all fed the Apex, which is our business association. They all kind of fed Apex. But I looked up and I was like, look, man, I became an entrepreneur so that I could have time freedom and be my own boss. Now I work for everybody else and I have zero fucking time freedom. I gotta start doing something different. So I made some shifts and some businesses failed. Obviously, the economy's been pretty rough. The restaurant business and some of our real estate deals went to hell. But on the flip side, I'm like, man, what are the three things I really like? My software company cash flows well, phonesites.com. My Apex business cash flows very well, and my lending business cash flows very well. So I've been niching myself back down per se to the three things that I actually like doing that will actually buy me time freedom. And oftentimes I say all this to say this, oftentimes the things that we think will make us happy, shiny watches, flashy cars, all that stuff ends up being a pain in our ass. 63 businesses, these things that we chase as entrepreneurs. And, I looked up and I got 63 different businesses and maybe even 64. And I'm like, fuck, man, if I just mastered what I'm good at instead of trying to do everything, I could make the money that I've got these other 60 businesses that I don't need. And I could just focus on four and do really good at these four and still be diversified, still have multiple streams of income based around those four businesses, but have a lot more time, freedom, happiness, and less overhead and employees and shit to deal with. And, that's what I've probably done over the last year and a half is really get back to the basics and the things that matter the most.
Yeah. Talking about mattering the most, I know that family is very big to you. And you got a beautiful relationship with your wife. You got four kids. You spend a lot of time like that. That's a strong culture that you're really. It looks like you are really passionate about being a father and really guiding them properly. Um, did you have that growing up? I know that you were adopted at 17 or at 7, and at that point, your father ended up really taking, helping out in many different ways. The one that adopted you. So is it because of the lack that you didn't actually see that, or did you start actually getting a good role model at a younger age that that has inspired you to do it yourself?
Nah, hell, my stepdad sucked too,
Yeah. Good
and
intentions, but it fucked it up as well.
yeah, he just, we're not the same DNA, so it's a hard job for him. But I never really had a positive father role model, which is why it's important to me.
Yep.
And I never had a bunch of positive marriage role models, but that's why it's important to me. But I met a man in 2005 named Pastor Keith Craft, and I've watched him
Yeah.
be a good father and a good leader and a good husband. And he's been with his wife for 40 years. And so I modeled a lot of my stuff after my pastor. And, for me, it's important because I didn't have a good dad. I want to be the dad that I never had to my kids. I've got four kids, and my wife is my best friend, and I couldn't ask for a better human to do life with. She can deal with my insanity and anger burst and temper tantrums and shit that you guys online don't see, but probably suspect happen. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
some of you guys have seen me lose my shit online, or maybe, sometimes ex-employees share voicemails where I'm fucking getting on their ass and stuff like that when they're not here. It's just part of being in business. But I've got somebody that I know is on my team no matter what, and that matters a lot to me. And here's the truth behind that. I started a lot of these trends on the internet. When I showed up in a black t-shirt with tattoos, that wasn't the norm back then. Everybody wore a suit and tie in 2010, 11. They dressed like they were a CEO of a company or a sales guy or something like that, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do my thing and be myself. I was one of the first people to just start telling stories and cussing in them online. People used to always say, "Oh, you're not supposed to cuss," and I was doing the funnel thing before Russell Brunson made it popular. I was doing the Lamborghinis and private jet shit back in 2016, 2017. So a long ass time before everybody had one. And now I look up and I'm like, well, you can finance a Lambo for 10 years. You can go get a funnel from a place like Phone Sites for, $29 a month. You can go and charter a private jet with 10 of your friends and act like you're balling out of control and stuff. But here's what you can hack. You can hack being a good husband. You can
Yeah.
hack being a good father and having good, well-respected, well-mannered kids. You can hack, 14 years in business and still here watching a lot of people come up, tell a bunch of lies, then get called out by the public and get kicked out. You can't hack some of the things where I'm at in my life now. And so, as I've gotten older, I'm 45 years old now, or I will be on Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it is. But I'm 45 years old now, and I'm at a point where I'm starting to realize as I mature and get wisdom what matters most. And what matters most to me is family. Second, what matters most to me is freedom, because I've not had freedom for extended periods of time in my life. And I'm really, I used to think, oh man, I want to go make hundreds of millions of dollars and maybe be a billionaire and stuff like that. But I've actually got to a point where I've designed what my perfect day is, and I know the dollar amount that it costs me to live that day every day. And so really I'm just focused on living my version of a perfect life, the least amount of stress possible, the least amount of resistance, the maximum amount of freedom, the maximum amount of time for my wife and kids and the other people in my life that I love. And really I'm at a point now to where that's what matters most to me, and I talk to business owners every day. A lot of people are struggling, a lot of people are frustrated going through some shit, whether they're real estate people or mortgage people, or whether they're just, any business across the nation right now is going through some sort of trials and tribulations. And I just want to, I'm really focused on building a bulletproof lifestyle to where no matter what happens, I still get to do things the way that I want to do them without having to overextend myself or, work myself to death and miss out on everything. A couple of years ago, I was on a jet every 3, 4 days. And I look up and I'm missing, I'm thinking, oh, I want to go speak on all these stages and go do all these things. And I look up and I'm like, fuck, every time I get somewhere, I'm like, I miss my wife and kids, man. And, here I am leaving for the day or leaving for 2 or 3 days, depending on what I had to do in an event or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it feels good to speak on stage, but I've been on stage 3, 4, 500 times at this point in my life, maybe more than that. It feels good to go and pour into an audience, but I've got an audience at home that need me to pour into them the most. So I've just made as I've gotten older and experienced things and checked a lot of shit off my bucket list. If you've never drove a Lamborghini or owned one, you probably want to own one. If you've never had a Rolex or a Patek or a AP, you probably want to own one. But then after a while, I always say it like this: when I bought my first McLaren, was like, man, take your shoes off before you get in.
Yeah.
Now, you got muddy boots on. I don't give a fuck. We'll clean it up later. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Just
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
a car and shit like that. But when I was checking it off my bucket list, it was a huge thing. When I got my first Rolex at 38 years old, I was like, fuck, I can't believe I have a Rolex. When I got my first supercar at 37 years old, I'm like, fuck, man, I can't believe that I'm driving this thing. And now I'm like, probably, I made pretty good money flipping cars and watches, so I can't say I'd like to have the money back from them. And it
Yeah.
was great experiences. But once you do something and you check it off your bucket list, you've already done it, especially if you've done it 100 times like I have. It's like, okay, what's next? What's next for me is the shit that you can't fake. You can't fake being a good friend, being a good husband, being a good father, running a respectable business, being honest and transparent with people, shooting people straight, whether they like it or not. You can't fake that shit, and that's really the next trend that I doubt people will, but I wish they'd follow me on that trend like they followed me on some in the past.
Yeah. I love that. I think a lot of people resonate with the straight shooter approach and no bullshit.
That
And
pisses a lot
really,
of people off too, bro. You think you
yeah,
like it until it comes at you. You know, let's
yeah,
say you're clearly not, but let's say that you're fat and your friends are all telling you body positive bullshit. And I'm the straight shooter, and I'm like,
yeah.
yo, Brandon, you're fat, man. You need to lose weight. And then it hurts your feelings. You're like, Stewman's an asshole, but I'm the only guy in the equation that is actually trying to help you out of a situation where everybody else is empowering you to make bad choices, you know?
It's true. It's true. Yeah, there's a lot of bullshit out there. There's a lot of softness in today's society, which really I think is fucking up America in many different ways.
Man, more than you know.
But I can definitely resonate with, I met my father when I was 18 years old in court so he could stop paying child support. And so I didn't have that male father either. I started selling drugs, big pothead, and selling a bunch of weed. Had an explosion actually on this day back in September 24, 2011, and had an explosion in my apartment making hash oil. So I was on fire, burnt 40% of my body like a dipshit. And
Look at my hand. I don't know if you can see it, but I was on fire a couple weeks ago too. I wasn't making hash wool. I was just trying to burn brush at my ranch, but I made a bad move, and it was a little slippery, and I fell, and gas poured all over me, caught my whole fucking body on fire too, man. I'm burnt, my legs, my hands. Bro,
oh,
I
fuck.
fucking feel you burns, man. There ain't nothing you can do about that shit, bro. You just have to suffer the fucking pain, man.
Did you get you go to the hospital and get some shit taken care of or what?
And I'm too much of a fucking, it happened on my cattle ranch. So it's like, you can't be there. First of all, there ain't a fucking hospital out there nowhere. And second
Yeah.
of all, it's like, I'll just man up and deal with it. But if it hadn't rained 20 minutes before I did this, which was the whole timing of the reason why I set the shit on fire in the first place. But
Yeah.
if it hadn't rained and I wouldn't have been able to stop, drop, and roll into a mud puddle, probably would have needed to go to the hospital, man.
Fuck, man. Yeah, that's crazy. That's some real Texas shit over there.
Yeah, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
So been
I
here for
love
25 years.
Yeah. So talk to me when it comes down to the hardcore closer. I know you've been coined this a few times now, and there's a quote of you saying that you've gotten more salesman, of the month plaques than you can count. So what does that actually count towards? Like where you were working for somebody in the past before starting all these businesses, and yeah, what does that look like?
I've been the top producer everywhere I've ever worked, and I haven't had a lot of jobs. Was uh, the top producing salesperson at a car wash franchise. My ticket average was higher than everybody else. And then I became a mortgage officer, and I worked at over the course of a decade, four different mortgage companies because I'd get recruited. The first one I started at became top producer, got recruited to a better one,
Yeah.
became top producer there, and got recruited to a better one, became top producer there, then went to prison, got out, and got a job after I got out of prison at a very large institution and became the top producer there. So, you know, I'm a very competitive person, and I realize a couple of things as a sales guy. Most people don't have any finesse, zero. They call and say, "Hey, Brandon, you want XYZ?" And you're like, "Nah, nah, I'm good." Okay, cool. Have a great day. Most people have no finesse, man, but I'm able to figure out what somebody really wants. I knew when I sold mortgages, what made me good was I knew nobody wanted a mortgage. Nobody's like rolling over in the middle of the night going, "Honey, we need
Yeah.
to be in debt for 30 years at a specific interest rate. That's going to solve all of our problems." That's not what they want. They want a fucking house. So while
Yeah.
all these other guys were selling interest rate and terms and the mortgage bond market, when to lock the rate in and shit, I'm like, look, dude, you want a house at an affordable fucking payment? What payment are you thinking? What price range house do you want? And we'll see what we can do to make that shit happen. And then it was all about their true desire. They want the house. The loan was the bridge that they had to build to get to the house. So if I sold the house, then the next guy's arguing over an eighth or a quarter% interest rate. I'm talking about, hey, we can close this bitch in 30 days and you can be in your dream house for less than the price that you told me you wanted to pay for every month. Sign here. Fuck, there's no argument. So, I just realized how to listen to people. I think it only takes two things to close sales: confidence, and that comes from product knowledge. You got to know that whatever you sell can solve their problem. And number two is empathy. You have to listen to them so that they know that you understand their problem, so that when you're confident about solving that problem, they know that you understand. It doesn't take much more than that, but it does take a level of finesse to figure those two things out. And by finesse, I don't mean like how the rappers say it this day, where you're getting over on somebody. But you have to be able to talk. You have to be able to, I had a guy that I fired here a couple of weeks ago working for me. And the dude worked for me for about 6 months, had 4,100 leads in his pipeline. He's like, I've called them all and nobody's answering. I said, what kind of voicemail are you leaving them? What kind of text are you leaving? He goes, oh, I didn't know we were supposed to leave voicemails. Like, bro, you got to be fucking retarded to be in sales. You told me the place where you come from, you were a good salesperson, that you did all these things and you never fucking once thought to leave. Do you think people are calling back a random number on a phone without a voicemail assigning to who that phone is and why they should reach out to them? Like, but that's how sadly, most people are. They're like, oh, well, you didn't tell me to leave a voicemail, so I didn't think about that. It's like, well, I thought that was fucking common sense, but we live in a time now where this guy is younger than I am. We live in a time now where common sense isn't so common. In my day, when you went to school, if you got bad grades, your parents beat your ass. Teacher stayed on your ass. Nowadays, if you get bad grades, it's racist. You know what I mean? And so, it's just, or it's sexist, or it's fucking misgendering or some shit. And now, I was towards the end of my time in sports as a kid, we didn't get participation trophies. That's the generation after me. And I'm like, it's kind of weird, but okay. But now we're getting participation trophies in education, and we're wondering why we're becoming a nation of idiots. Well, I don't wonder. I know why it is. And a lot of these folks don't think for themselves and shit. And it's not everyone, and it's not everyone in the younger generations, but it's getting worse year over year in the way that people just not thinking for themselves, not having communication skills, not having any kind of finesse, or not wanting it bad enough. Like I didn't care about the trophy that came with being top producer. I care about the paycheck that came along with it. I care
Yeah.
about the respect of the peers, and the maybe even the hate from the peers that I'm whipping their ass in the job. You know what I mean? Like that's what kept me going. It's like, oh, I can't let Brandon beat me this month. He got close last month. I got to run the score up.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people don't think that way. They think, oh, Brandon and me, we both deserve to win. Fuck that, Brandon. If you're competing against me, I want to win. You can take second place, bro. Like,
No, I hear you, man. So when it comes down to like the sales guys, was that a all commissions type of role too, like paycheck, or is there a
yeah,
base?
yeah. No, we used to get bases here,
Yeah,
and
it doesn't work out.
yeah, people, it's a participation trophy.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never had a salary or a base income in my fucking life. Right.
Ever.
No, well, I have it now because I own the fucking company, but it's still meant to be, it's up to me situation. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so, but I never had a job where, and maybe this is because I'm a felon, but I never had a job where you didn't either get paid hourly, which meant that you had to show up and get paid on the clock for just the time that you worked, or you commission only. And I've been commission only since 2004, so 20 years without a base salary. And in any business, whether it's real estate, mortgages, insurance, working for me, selling Apex or phone sites, you're gonna have a few weeks, maybe a month, where you're not going to get a lot of money. But that's the beauty of commission. We don't cap your income either once you get the shit rolling. Here's what most people's problem is they come here and they're 30, 40 years old. The young guys do well here, but the guys that are already 28 plus that come here, they think it's going to be an easy job. Turns out it's just as hard as any other sales job on the planet. And they already have a house payment and a car payment, and they don't have any savings, and they can't afford to go 2, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks without a paycheck to get the shit rolling for them, right?
Yeah.
Because my business, we don't get no's, we get a lot of not right nows. Man,
Yeah.
I got XYZ event, this closing, that closing, this event coming up, pay my taxes first, whatever the fuck it is. We don't get, no, I'm not interested. We get, okay, I don't have the money right now. Let me do XYZ to get it, blah, blah, blah. And so it takes a minute to get rolling here. And, the guys that show up here that are 19, 20, 21 years old, fresh out of college, they don't have any debt. They still live at home with their parents, blah, blah. They kill it because they actually have a safety blanket of their parents' house, or their parents buying groceries and shit. And then they're here 2 or 3 months. The money starts flowing in. They start making $5,000, $10,000 a month. Then they go out and they buy their own apartment. 6, 7, 8 months later, they're making $7,000 to $12,000 a month. Now they're stacking their money. I'm not going to let them go buy a brand new car. I'm not going to let them go fucking do stupid moves and shit. And I've got a guy that's worked for me for 5 years. He's 24. His truck's paid off. He owns 3 pieces of real estate, lives in one, has 2 roommates that pay the rent for him. He lives there basically for free. And every now and then he'll come to me and he'll say, man, I'm thinking about getting this car. Don't fucking do it, bro. Don't
Yeah.
do it. Because as soon as you start going in debt, trust me, all the fucking options change. And now you're working to pay for debt or working to pay for this new object as opposed to working for freedom. The longer you can stay free, the better.
Yeah. Talk to me for a second. The difference between good debt, bad debt. A lot of people are getting it fucked up, and they kind of like you said originally, if you don't have the Lamborghini or the McLaren at first or the Rolex, you may chase those things at first. And then long and behold, the more that you have of it down the road, you're just acknowledging that it's more of a distraction. It's taking away time from what you really desire and what gets you excited. I started seeing that in some of the success that I've had, get a watch, and then I'm like, all right, well, I feel nice when I step in the room for a second, and then I feel like a fucking moron later for wasting 20 grand on it.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that for people that are putting their priorities in the wrong order.
Well, the truth lies somewhere between Grant Cardone and Dave Ramsey. If you follow both of those guys, right? Like Grant tells you don't spend all your money, blah blah blah. That's not good advice. Dave tells you don't spend any of your money, drive a 50-year-old car and live in a crack house or whatever that you can afford, right? It's just like the
Yeah.
truth is somewhere in there. So the hardcore closer, me, is somewhere in the middle there. And it's real simple. It's like this, like, don't go into debt that can't make you money.
Yeah.
I have debt on this 22,000 square foot building that I'm in right now, but this building makes me money.
Yep.
Uh, I have in the past, I financed Lamborghinis and shit, but I bought them to sell and I bought them to go to networking events and I bought them to get into car clubs. They made me more money than I ever paid for them. I bought them for marketing and shit like that. The watches, I was buying and selling watches, and I wasn't doing that to buy and sell watches. But if Brandon, you can afford $20,000 for a watch, you can afford some money to join Apex as well. Hey, you're already successful, you're blowing money on shit like a watch, which means you have a disposable income. You should invest in yourself and be a part of our Apex network. We'll help you make more money and buy more watches if that's what you want to do. And so, if you can make money from it, then you can borrow. But here's what most people do. They go and they want I don't know, a fancy TV for $5,000, and they don't have, and I don't know how much a fucking TV costs these days. I haven't bought one in
Yeah.
years, but they go and they find a fancy TV they want for $5,000, and they go to Best Buy and they finance it for $5,000, and now they're paying $150 a month for 6 months or 60 months or whatever the case may be. TV's not going to make you any money. You're not going to be able to sell it and get your cash back. And now you're in debt for something that was for purely pleasure and entertainment reasons versus going and buying a rent house. And you go and you put some money down on a rent house, and it doesn't have to be an expensive one. Some people are like, well, fucking $5,000 for a TV is different than a rent house. I bought a house for $27,000 4 years ago that I got for sale for 100 grand right now. So I paid cash for that house, been sitting on it, making $1,000 a month for the last 48 months. And now I'm about to sell it for $100,000. Right. So, going into debt on something like that is totally different. I've got houses that I've got quite a few pieces of real estate. I got some houses that are $400,000 and $500,000, and I'm in debt, 250, 300 grand on them, but I'm making money every month. Plus I'm getting appreciation when I get ready to sell them. So if you go into debt, you have to look at it as, this thing that I'm going into debt for going to make me money? Now, here's where most people lack finesse. We'll go back to that word before. Most people go buy a Lamborghini, for example, and they'll pay it out, and They don't do shit with it, but you can make money with that Lamborghini. You can go to the car meetup and meet other people that can send you referrals in business. You can use it as a marketing thing online. You can, the mechanic that works on Lamborghinis, he knows all the fucking rich people in the area that have nice cars and can make introductions to you. You can go and get involved in charity and give, kids with cancer, or kids that are income deficient and their families are poor. You can give, there's all sorts of charities that give kids rides in supercars. And then you get in tight with the charity where rich people donate to charities and shit. So there's ways that you can monetize anything. You just have to know, you have to have a plan and have some finesse of, if I buy this TV, can I charge my friends $5 once a month to come over and watch the UFC or whatever the fuck it is, right? But you should have a monetization plan before you go into debt on anything.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. Talk to me about sales objections for a second. At the end of a close, I know that you have in your space, you have a lot of people that say they want it, but possibly right now they need to figure out money or whatever it may be. When it comes down to the sales objections at the end, they say they need to talk about it or talk to their wife or whatever bullshit that they come up with, and they can't make a decision right then and there on the spot. How do you typically train your sales guys?
Well, years ago, before it was popular, we were the one call close place.
Okay.
And the consumer gets smart over time. And nowadays we have like a weaker society. They don't like
Yep.
their objections handled per se the way that they did just 5 or 10 years ago. So now we have a 3-step closing process: set an appointment, do a presentation, follow up with them. And the real money is in follow up. And because even if you're good at one call closes, which occasionally happen, even if you're good at those, there's going to be a lot more people who don't one call close.
Yep.
So the true game is following up with people. Sometimes objections are real. If a guy tells you don't have the fucking money, he doesn't have the money. You could tell him, you could say some shit. Well, what if I told you give me $1 today and I give you 10 million in 2 weeks? Would you come up with the money? Like, fuck, I still don't have a place to come up with the money. And the only way they'd be able to do that is go get $1 from somebody else and then split the the income with them or whatever the case, right? So, what I believe is there's bullshit objections like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I belong. I'm not sure I can do this. And we can overcome those because those are simply limiting mindsets. But there's other objections like, hey, I need, 10 grand. Cool. I need 2 weeks to come up with it because I got XYZ event happening. Or I truly have a business partner and I want to do this with them. And I don't want to spend the money without letting them know because we're already on bad terms because of some mistakes in the past. Like there's real objections and fake objections. And your job as the closer is to know what's real and what's not, and what's a real objection that you're going to have to handle with follow up and reminders, or what's a bullshit objection that they just need to get over in order to move on and get the results that they want. So that's the big differentiator. But like I said, we have a 3-step process. I sell to business owners, so they're busy. If I call you right now, you're most likely not going to answer the phone, or you're not going to have 20-30 minutes to talk. You're just not, right? Because you're busy. So number one is, hey, I know you're busy right now. Let's set up an appointment for a time that you're not busy. How does Tuesday at 3 p.m. work? Okay, cool. I got time then. Okay, I got you down. I'm going to call you then. We'll have a quick 20-30 minute conversation, lead you to a decision. Yes or no doesn't matter to me. And we'll see where we go from there. Then after they make the decision, they usually don't say no. A lot of times they say yes. They usually don't say no. They say not right now. And that's my key for what category are they in. Or is it not right now? They're going to close in 2 weeks. So probably need to follow up with them every couple of days. Is it not right now? I'm going to close in a few months. I probably need to follow up with them once a week. Or is it not right now, but some point in the future, probably follow up with them once a month.
Mm. Yeah, that's good. I love that. So when you got out of prison, what did it look like before you actually moved forward and started your own business? And what sparked that?
Well, the first time I got out of prison, I just went to work at the car wash and I had a dream. My dream was if I became the best car wash guy, I could work my way up, manage them, become general manager, and maybe one day save enough money to own them. In 2004, a customer to the car wash came in, gave me a job in finance. And my job was one day, my goal then became, well, maybe one day I can own a bank.
Mm.
2007, Yeah, I think it was 2007. I went to federal prison. I walked in a millionaire, and I walked out divorced with $25 to my name, living in a halfway house. But I knew I had already had success before, and I had a belief that I could go get it again, and I did. And even though the financial markets were down 2008, 9, and 10, I did pretty well, six figures, multiple six figures a year during that time. And then 2010, I'm like, fuck, well, that job's gone. I'm not going back to washing cars. What am I going to do? And, I started the social media thing that you see today long before anybody else was doing this. And it was like, very difficult, but I stuck with it. A couple years later, we caught some momentum. A couple years after that, we're doing six figures a month. A couple years after that, we're doing multiple six figures a month, and so on and so forth to where we're at today. And it got to a point where it was like, you know, like I know that if I just work, anything that any of us wants on the other side of hard work and determination, and if I just stick to something and don't quit, I'm going to end up winning in the long run. And we're going to go through points where it's very difficult. Being a business owner is the fucking hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
If I could go back in time, I would find somebody like a Grant Cardone and I'd be their number two. I don't like the fame. It's not for me. I like anonymity and I like money. And I got put into this. And I'm not famous by any stretch of imagination, but there's very few places I go somebody doesn't come up to me.
Yeah.
Whether in an airport or in another state. Hell, I've been in other countries and people bought me dinner and drinks that were in the restaurant. So, I've got somewhat level of exposure to where a lot of people know who I am. And I don't wish that, because sometimes I got fucking yell at my wife in public. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I gotta fucking get on my kids in public, or sometimes I just want to be left the fuck alone. And I would rather, be one of these guys that have a good amount of income and nobody knows who they are. I think they're really winning. I was at a party in LA about 5 years ago, and it was a bunch of celebrities and a bunch of millionaires, and the millionaires all wanted to be famous and the celebrities all wanted to be millionaires. And I thought, you guys got it fucking backwards. If I had your money, there's no way I'd want people to know who the fuck I am, And for me, I I never wanted to be famous. I wanted to work. Honestly, I wanted to work for Frank Kern, and I wanted to be his number two guy selling his shit. And
Yeah.
Frank, nah, bro, you got to go run your own stuff. You're too good to be working for me. Blah blah blah. And you know, I wish he'd have gave me a chance, because I think Frank and I would have made a good team, and I could have sold him all day, every day, and made him a bunch more money than probably he's made, and had me a lot less stressful life than I've had. Because as a business owner, especially for people right now, the story I always hear is like, I had a really good year in 22. In 23, it sucked, and I had to pay taxes from 22, which fucked me up. And now in 2024, I'm taking a fucking loss because I don't have the money that I had from the reserves. Because in 2022, things were good, and I scaled my business and bought another warehouse and bought more inventory and hired more employees. And 2023 hit, shit came to a screeching fucking halt. I had to pay 2022 taxes. Now I'm down in my income, and I've got this warehouse, and had to lay off employees and shit. And it's like, it's very hard to gauge, because you're going to have a few good years and you think, okay, cool, I need to expand, and then that could just fuck, like what we saw, just come to a screeching halt. Like, you could have been in 2023, you could have had 5 houses under contract and had them under contract for 90 days because you're looking for buyers, and you put all this money down on these homes for earnest money, 10, 20 grand each, depending on what kind of home they were or what kind of property it was. And then all of a sudden the commercial fucking real estate all of a sudden costs 12% interest to buy commercial real estate. It's all of a sudden 7.75% to buy residential real estate. And then you got to make a decision. Am I still going to buy this house, or am I going to lose my earnest money? So on and so forth, and the shit just kind of happened out of nowhere. The Fed seems like every other week they were raising the rates and shit like that. So it's very hard to gauge. And we're in a down cycle right now, but that doesn't mean that here in another year and a half, 2 years, we hit another good stride and we're fucking kicking it and running on all 8 cylinders again. But a lot of people are really struggling right now for two reasons. The one that I just named, the other is when somebody has a record year or a record month, that becomes their identity. And then when they can't get back to that, they're thinking, but I'm a 20 grand a month guy, and I'm making 5 grand a month right now in this bad economy, but I set myself up to live a 20 grand a month lifestyle, and I can't fucking live that. So I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at existential situations and so on and so forth, man. And so, a lot of people, they don't realize that that's the struggle an entrepreneur goes through. When it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's real estate, oil and gas, whatever the case may be, there's always one or two markets that are winning. And this is the first time in a long time where I've seen it where like 98% of the markets are fucking losing right now. And a lot of people don't talk about this publicly, but I deal with it behind, strategy sessions and shit like that on a regular basis. And, most people, they're online right now bragging about how good things are, even though they're not. Whereas if they just told their people that they need more business, their people might refer it to them if they were just honest with them.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, I could definitely relate. The last couple of months have been a shit show with marketing online and so forth, keeping up with politics. I feel like we're going against with ads and just the summertime in general. So
Man,
we've been
this
doubling
is
down in the business, if anything, for employees and C-suite, hire-ons, hoping that in the next few months shit really starts clicking back, but you never know.
Well, this is probably the worst year I've had since 2019 or 2020. So
Mm,
we're having a down year because I sell to business owners. So if a large majority of business owners are hurting, so
yep.
am I, right? And I don't know who's going to get in office, Kamala or Trump. And hopefully, if Kamala gets in office, she has the responsibility, I feel, as a person of color and a female to really do good so that other people that are, she'll be the second, you know, we'll call her the black president. She'll be the second black president that we've had. Obama did a good job, and a lot of pressure was on him because if he was the first black president and he did a terrible job, then nobody would ever elect a black man again in America. That's just facts, right? And so if she's the first black female president and she does a terrible job, they're not going to elect another one of those either. So thankfully, Obama did a great job and left that door open. He had to fight from some of the chaos that Bush left. But no matter whether you like Obama or not, about 3 years into his presidency, shit started turning around and getting good again. And then Trump poured some gas on that and made it good. And then Biden, old stuttering Biden, he fucking came in and undid a lot of shit that Trump did, which, took us back to like maybe the first 4 years of Obama's administration and fuck things up. And it takes a couple years for those things to kick in. So
Yeah.
hopefully when Kamala gets in there, two things, she's going to want to get reelected. So she needs to do a good job to get reelected. And she needs to do a good job to set example and not make it to we're never fucking electing a woman again. Look what she did to the country. You know what I mean? If Trump gets in, we know what we can expect, a lot of the same shit that we got from 2016 to 2020. So, I think whoever gets in office has a lot of pressure on them to make things good. And in my opinion, I think that the Democrats in Congress and the president that we have right now needed to make things bad because government loves having problems to solve that they caused. And so they love to say, hey, all these things were caused by Trump. Things are bad right now because of Trump, and we turned it around. So I think she's going to have to do that too. So, I think either way, hopefully, either way, whoever gets into office, they've got a lot of work to do to turn things around, but hopefully that's their agenda. But right now, it seems like we're more focused on fucking killing babies and banning guns than we are putting money in the fucking pockets of the average household in America. That's what matters most, right? Like, if you can't afford, if you don't have money, you can't afford an abortion or a gun anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's just fucking stupidity. The shit we put out there these days that's the important pressing agenda of one party or another is very foolish because I don't give a fuck if somebody else, I'm not pro-life or pro-choice. I'm like, I got kids in my own family. I don't give a fuck what somebody else does. Like, you want to
Yeah.
kill them, you want to raise them, I don't give a fuck, right? I don't care if a felon has guns or a bank robber has guns or everybody has guns, because if there's more people with guns, then the bad guys with guns can't stand out. They can be equalized a lot easier. I feel more comfortable in a room where everybody's packing heat than in a room where only one guy's packing heat, because that one guy could take us all out. If everybody's packing heat, he's only going to get one or two of us before someone gets a shot off, and a lot
Yeah.
of people don't think that way. And even if you ban guns, there's still always going to be the one lawbreaker guy that has a gun anyway. And now he's got a distinct competitive advantage against everybody versus a state like Texas or Oklahoma where you can just open carry and be like, bitch, fuck around and find out. You know what I mean? I prefer that. So, I think a lot of the things that we discuss these days in the political realm are fucking stupid. Who cares? You want an abortion? Get an abortion. You don't want an abortion? Don't get an abortion. Nobody gives a fuck. Go fucking do what you ever want to do. As long as my wife and I aren't having that conversation about our kids, then fucking doesn't matter to me. And it's same thing. It's like you want to be gay, be gay. I don't give a fuck, but it doesn't need to be on every TV show and it doesn't need to be a political talking point. Like if you like the same sex, then fucking go like the same sex, but just like we're not running a heterosexual agenda and shit. So a lot of the things that we got people focused on, we shouldn't be focused on. The thing that we should be focused on is how do we get more money in the hands of the average everyday ordinary American that's stressing out and in a bad financial situation right now to where they're not angry on the internet. They're not fucking mad at this, that, and the other. Everybody's prospering. Everybody looks good. Our cities are clean. Homelessness is cleaned up and the cops are empowered and we're in a safe fucking country that looks like Dubai or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we just came back from Dubai a couple weeks ago and it was really eye-opening to see how the government runs things over there and just like how they support the people, how they support the businesses. It was pretty inspiring to say the least.
Well, there's no taxes there and they're tough on crime. Those are
Yeah.
their main policies. You can go to the bathroom in Dubai and leave a Louis Vuitton bag outside of the bathroom and nobody will touch it because they'll lose their fucking arm.
Yep.
Here, you can't leave your DoorDash or your Amazon packages on your front porch without somebody fucking stealing them. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because
There's no consequences.
there's no consequences, right? And we used to be a country of law and consequences. Now we're celebrating criminals. Oh, George Floyd, he was a great dude. Really? Really? That
Yeah.
guy was a great dude?
Yeah.
Like whether he was choked to death or whether he overdosed on fentanyl, either way, he did something to have a run-in with the cops. And maybe the cops did overstep, maybe they didn't. I wasn't there, so I don't fucking know. But
Yep.
either way, I know every time that I've had a run-in with the cops, I did some fucked up shit. They don't just show up picking on people for no fucking reason. They don't just go, oh, look, it's a black guy. Let's go fuck with him and get the fucking whole country upset with us. That's not what happens. But the more people feel empowered, we see it on social media all day, every day, where guys talk shit to the cop and the cop makes a move. And people are like, that cop's wrong. I was like, did you not hear what the fucking guy just said to him?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're people in authority. Go try that. Go try talking shit like that to a congressman and see if his fucking bodyguards don't beat the shit out of you. Then what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's true. It's a wild world that we live in, to say the least.
it is. And again, it's because people are focused on the wrong shit. They're
Yep.
focused on, things that like our government shouldn't be involved in abortions. It should be medically controlled, but not government controlled. Our government shouldn't be saying DEI and if you're gay, this, that, and the other. It's like those are personal choices. Do what the fuck. We should all have a meritocracy to where if you're good at something, you get the job. If you have the money, you can buy the thing. If that's all that matters. And the main thing that we got to focus on in this country is getting dollars back in people's pockets, because I've never seen it in my 45 years where the plug was pulled on the financial system just literally within about a 6-month period of time. Like crypto went away, NFTs went away, cars went away. People were selling cars above sticker price, making a killer living. People were selling real estate above sticker price with a low interest rate, making a killer living. And they just like fucking stopped everything. People were making good money in oil and gas. People were making good money in the stock market. They just said like, fuck all of y'all. We're taking our ball and going back to Washington, and y'all can just fucking stare at the basketball goal and wonder how you can get back in the game some other way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. It would be wild to see if like what you're saying here is like all political talk that dude, it would be wild if they let felons actually run.
Well,
Because
Trump's technically a felon.
yeah,
He could become,
you're right. You're right.
become our first felonious president, and that might and if he does a good job as a felon, that might, I've always said I'll make
You're
a
sticking
decision.
up, baby.
I'll make a decision in 2040. I don't think, I'm a big fan of Andy Frisella, and
Yeah.
I've known him for about 5 years,
Yeah.
and he's talking about running for president and stuff. And as much as I'd like to see a guy like him or Grant Cardone be president, I don't think there's enough people in America that can take their bedside manner because they're very hardcore
It's not
go-go.
cookie cutter.
It's not like, oh, the thing about Obama, man, was he was a great speaker, man. Whether you were left or right, you felt united. When he
Yeah.
talked, he had the right tonality and all this shit. You got Andy Frisella, who's got great policies and great ideas, but he says fuck every other word, and he's telling you, the pedophiles belong in a wood chipper or whatever the fuck, right? And
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of people that even though that's what I believe too, a lot of people that think, oh, he's too rude, and what if he qualifies me as whatever, right? And so I'm looking at, like, in 2040, I'll make that decision. I should have enough money then. There should be enough precedent set. And if we're still running for office in 2040, God knows what may happen in the future, then, I might give it a run. The thing is, I just don't know if people could take the amount of truth a guy like me or Grant or Andy Frisella. We're not going to sugarcoat shit. You want something sugar coated, go eat Frosted Flakes, motherfucker, because that's all the sugarcoating you're going to get from us.
Yeah, I love that. I think the world needs it though, and hopefully that
Needs and
sentiment.
wants are two different things,
Oh,
though.
for
They
sure. I
need it
know.
100%, but do they
Yeah.
want it? Fucking 55, 60% don't want to know the truth. They want to be okay to be fat. They want to be okay to be a drug addict. You'll see people recording drug addicts doing crazy shit, and they're like, you should just leave them alone. They're mentally challenged. What if they're not mentally challenged? What if they're just pieces of shit that decided that you don't know their story?
Yeah.
Right. And maybe if somebody did go up to him and go, why are you being a piece of shit and being a drug addict when you could go out here and be like
Yep.
Stewman, who was a drug addict and left
Yep.
fucking prison? He seems
Yep.
okay. So there's proof that it can be done. Why don't you get your shit together? Right. But that's not, people don't like the truth, man. Because here's the thing, humans are motivated between pain and pleasure. And
Mhm.
lies are awfully pleasurable, and the truth is awfully painful. Pain is a bigger motivator than pleasure, but people, and so that's why bullying is important. You know what I'm saying? I was bullied as a kid. It got me stronger. I beat that motherfucker's ass at some point and felt good about it. Like people on the internet at one point told me I was fat and out of shape. So I started working out, getting in better shape. Like, we need that, even though it hurt my fucking feelings and made me mad at those people. I need my feelings hurt because pain is a motivator. At
Yep.
one point, David Goggins was fat. Motherfuckers were calling him a fat piece of shit and everything else. That motivated him to go on to change tens of millions of lives in the fitness realm and save millions of lives from being a Navy SEAL. We need people. It's not bullying. It's people telling you the truth that you don't want to hear. And bullying is what the victim says when they don't want to hear the truth. Oh, you're bullying me. There was a lady on the internet the other day talking about why she doesn't put her shopping cart back. She had some fucking slew of bullshit excuses. And I said, lady, this is why you have a double chin. You're fucking lazy. And
Yeah.
she sent hundreds of her fucking followers. This lady's a doctor too, by the way, like a PhD doctor. And instead of just being like, man, shit, maybe I should put my cart right back, not be a piece of shit and lose some weight. She sends hundreds of followers to text me and my wife on Instagram talking about he's violent and he's hitting on her and he's in her DMs trying to sleep with her. I'm not fucking no fat lady. I'm not doing it. I'm not, like, get the fuck out. Have you seen my wife? You think I'm sliding this bitch's fucking DMs? First of all, now you're not only fat and lazy, you're a fucking liar. But
Yeah.
that's the world that we live in. And all of those ladies look the same,
Yep.
have the same ideology, and none of them thought for 1 minute, maybe I shouldn't be a piece of shit and maybe I should put my cart back because people need those parking spaces. And the guy that works there has to walk around the whole entire parking lot picking up our laziness instead of just going there like his job's designed to pick it up the carts there to where he can be more productive for the company. But oh no, there's a reason I don't put my cart back because I don't feel safe. Well, then move out of that fucking neighborhood. Don't go to that store anymore. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If you live in LA, and you don't feel safe, maybe you should fucking move. If you don't feel safe in a parking lot with your kids, maybe don't fucking live there. I mean, I'm no genius, but I'm just saying, like, fuck. But this is the world that we live in.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, man. It's wild, to say the least. Talk to me. You have a funding company, and you're doing your part to start making an impact and really start changing some things. Can you just explain a little bit more about that? We do similar things. We teach people how to get funding from banks, more on the 0% credit card side. That's how I got
Yep.
started into real estate. So would love your feedback of what you're doing with that. And then I want to respect your time and start wrapping things up for you.
Yeah, so I own a company called Closer Capital, and we loan money to business owners. So we don't loan money to consumers. We loan money to business owners. But if you're a business owner, we can fund your deals for you as well. So, like, let's say you're an HVAC guy and the client doesn't have 7,500 bucks, we can fund their 7,500 bucks through you. So we do a factoring loan. So we can in over 64 different industries that we operate in that we can fund clients as well, but we fund them through the business owner. In other words, they get their money up front and then we collect the payments from the clients. But we do lines of credit and term loans for business owners. So our term loans start at prime plus one. Obviously, that depends on your credit and the amount of time you want the loan for and stuff like that. And then we have lines of credit that we set up that go as low as 1.25% per month, which is around, 13, 15% annually if you carry the balance the whole time. But that's not typically why you have a line of credit. Typically, you flip in a line of credit, revolving line of credit, you're probably flipping it every 90, maybe 120 days on average. So, we have some low rate funding solutions for people. If you need money and you're a business owner, you've been in business for at least 1 year and make at least $10,000 a month in top line revenue. And that's not going to get you much of a loan, by the way, but that's like our minimum requirements. We do up to $1 million line of credit. So if you're making really good money, typically we'll give you a line of credit based on 2 to 3 months worth of income. So there's a few variable factors there. But if you're looking for money and you get turned down by traditional banks, we have amazing programs you can apply at Closer Cap, CAP, closercap.com. And somebody on my team will reach out, gather your docs, give you an opportunity to get some money from us. We typically fund, and depends on how fast you are, but we can fund a deal in as short time as a week. For things like inventory, payroll, acquiring real estate, hiring more employees, expansion of your business, maybe building a warehouse, something of that nature. But we're really good at what we do, and we're really dialed in with some great lenders. So, if you can't get a traditional loan from Bank of America because they don't like your business plan or they don't understand how your tax system is set up, then you can come to us. We look at bank statements, tax returns, 3 months bank statements, and 1 year's tax return typically, plus your operating agreement. We can get you set up with some line of credit. Could be as high as 4 or 5% a month. If you ain't ever paid a bill on time in your fucking life, that's your fault, not ours. But if you got good credit, you run a good solid business, then we do it for as low as 1.25% a month and prime plus one for top tier clients on the term loans as well.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's awesome. That will definitely help out a lot of people. So you're still working through banks, right? It's not a fund that you
Private
set.
money. Yeah, private money.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So it is a fund that you guys set up that
Not,
is.
not us, other people. I'm a
Okay.
broker, so I've got several different. I've got about 10 different banks that I go through, or private funds that I go through. So I'm essentially the middleman in the
Yeah.
whole thing. But these are people that you would never find online. They're people that, unless you know a guy or know somebody like me, you're never going to get access to money like this. So
Yeah. I love it. Cool. Well, Ryan, man, I appreciate your time. It was awesome to get to know you more and get to hear your views on many different things. And it's exciting to see where you've come, what you're up to today, and really what you got going on for the future. Any last words for the audience, and then can you just list out how people can check you out and follow you?
yeah, if you listen to this and any of this offended you, you probably should get your shit together and fucking callous your mind a little bit. Um, you know,
Amen.
if you don't like some of the words I use or some of the way that I speak, that's a reflection of you, not me, because all I'm doing is speaking the truth. If you enjoyed the truth, you can follow me on Instagram at Hardcore Closer. I don't talk a lot of business shit on there. I'm usually just ranting and talking shit and having a good time on there. I use it as true social media. Facebook, I do a lot of inspiration posts and a lot of what if and thought provoking posts on business and stuff like that. On Facebook, I'm Ryan Stewman. Both of them have blue checks. Don't follow any account that doesn't have a blue check. Don't fucking respond to anything that says I'm Ryan Stewman's side fucking account or whatever. I don't have no other accounts, just those two. And if it ain't those two, it ain't me. So Hardcore Closer with the blue check, and then Ryan Stewman on Facebook with the blue check. So
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, brother. It means a lot. And guys, if you haven't checked out Ryan and started following him, do that right now. Reach out to him, show him some love. Same thing with me. If you want to get a hold of me, you can check out Brandon Elliott Investments on IG or Credit Counsel Elite on IG. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for? Do that right here, right now. To Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. You get the newest subscription, or when you subscribe, you get the newest notification every single Monday when the new episode drops. Leave that 5-star review, and we'll catch you on the next one. Until next time, God bless.